What's going on, legends? We've got a pretty decent sized video here. We're going to be going through the potential guys that you could trade this week exactly. There's going to be a bunch of guys that over the next few, 15, 16, and then heading into 17 that we can move on. Potentially a few guys that have a little bit more cash to make, or we can get a couple of decent scores out of them, especially this week, given that we might have a few guys being rested after Origin, for example, or have some injuries. So we'll speak about them over the next few weeks. Some of those guys that we've potentially held for round 13 as well. Like if you still have a Josh King and these types of guys, then it's probably worth just holding them all the way to 17 now, get their score and move them on. Guys like Lockie Ilias, for example, is another guy that we could potentially hold now. If you've held on to him this far, you had a few more fires to put out last week, you could hold him to 17. Potentially, there are a few guys. One guy I didn't put in this video was Mr. Trent Peoples, but I think we've been speaking about him as a trade the last few weeks, and I think you can still move him on. Obviously, at a bit of a weird price. So, a few people asked me about Xavier Savage as well in terms of being an option. I didn't put him in that last Cash Cows video. He was in obviously the few weeks before's videos, and I think that he's less of an option now. Obviously, 43k up. Probably only gets another couple of weeks before see Charles Nickel Klukstar gets back. So probably not an option in my opinion. There's a few other guys obviously in that recent video. So guys that I think you could potentially move on this week if you wanted to. If you were looking to upgrade, if you need to do downgrade upgrade scenario, you want to get a cash cow in, get some cash available to go to other guns, and someone like Isaac Tungo could be one of those guys. I also see him as someone potentially being your third best center, for example. Who has that dual position with the edge as well. You're probably not going to play him as an edge player, but you would play him as a center if you needed some coverage. At 555, I understand why you would like to move him on as well, just because that's a nice price, and he's obviously been scuffling a little bit the last bunch of weeks. He had a nice 67 and a 49 to kind of cover those lower scores, those mid-30s ones, and he's had two low 30s again the last couple of weeks. But that is normal for a center, right? You can see him, his lowest score of the year is at 22. And generally a few low 30s in amongst some really big games. And four of those massive games came at the start. So I can understand why he looked to move him on, and not going to hold you to any rough standard or poor standard if you do decide to move him on. I think it's a solid enough choice. This percentage here, the 89 of the top 100 and the 83% of the top 5,000, I think is going to drop dramatically over the next bunch of weeks, and especially leading into round 17 when he's not going to play. So our 43.5 average is obviously a little bit inflated based on the first bunch of scores. But that's that. If we're looking at another guy you could potentially move on, and that's Stephen Cryden, if you haven't done so already, averaging 41, just that little bit under what Tungo is, and he doesn't get the goal kicking anymore, for example. That's the main issue with Stephen. He's going to be most likely going to be out in 17, well, definitely going to be out in 17 as well, considering they have the bye, and could potentially miss this game, but could potentially miss round 18 as well. So Stephen, another one to speak about there. Starling, pretty clear trade out this week, 583k. Still owned by a lot of people, but that's going to drop down dramatically. That 25 minutes off the bench, 30 minutes off the bench, not going to cut it. He's going to lose too much cash. Already lost a 50 last week, so get him out now. Upgrade him, sideways trade him, whatever you need to do. Downgrade him to a cheapie, move him on. Jaden Campbell, obviously out for 8 weeks. He has to go as well. Just wanted to bring him up as just to make sure, if people that aren't sure, that he's definitely out for 8 weeks and he's clear trade out. Jaden Campbell. Butcher, obviously another one of those guys in the, what do we do with him? 90 of the top 100 own him and are playing him, so obviously not a big issue if you're still continuing to hold on to him. I think I'm going to hold on to him this week. Think he's someone that's going to be moved on in round 17. I can't see him playing 39 minutes again. Generally, even if when he's off the bench, he has some games in there, the high 30s, 40, and for some reason starting, he ended up getting his bench minutes, so you'd see that increasing. If we can get about 50 minutes out of him, he'll be fine, but unfortunately, the 39 is not good enough. If we can get 50 minutes out of him, we'll get at least over a 40. And for someone priced at 592, it's not an issue. We just need him to get those minutes. And I suppose you can at least give him one more crack. If he doesn't do it this week, if he gets the 40 minutes again, then quite happy for you to move him on. He's done a serviceable job, obviously over the 58 and the 65 was really nice. The 31, not so much, but he's done his job so far. We'd like it to be a little bit longer, but if it's not, then that's okay as well, given they don't play in round 17. The only guy in this list that is playing in round 17 that I think you just trade out is Xavier Savage. So it's 393k. You can downgrade him to a better option, whether it's an RFM, for example, whether you get one of the wing fullbacks available, or a center, or whatever you need from from this trade out, I think Xavier's, it's time to go. He's had, you know, 2 really good games, a 68 and a 52 in round 7 and 8, where he scored 4 tries and 3 tries. If he's not scoring at least a double, which even we've seen he scored a double in the past and got 21. So if he's not scoring at least a double, he's not scoring very well. Unless he had a 2 try assist, 1 try game there for 48. But those last 3 games, they're -1, 17, and 29. Not good enough. Move him on. Yeah, there's plenty of better options. You can see he's owned by 20% people, but like 15 people have him in the top 5,000. So not enough, unfortunately. Yeah, obviously good players in the top 5,000 here. Don't own him. Remove him. Get rid of him now. Cryden, someone I think you can probably wait a few weeks again. Round 17 at a minimum, you know, would be the time to trade him out. Obviously, had the 2 cracking games. He's had 2 average games since 18 and 27. If we can get a few games in the 30s, then we'll be fine with his break-even not being too high. But obviously not sure if that's going to continue happening or not. He's got Para this week, which could be tough. Tigers and Cronulla after that, not too bad. But yeah, they're the 3 games that we get from him, 14, 15, 16. I think you can hold on to him, but just be aware that we could be trading him out in the next few weeks. He's, you know, not done exactly what we hoped for. Owned by a large percentage of people in the top 5,000 at 65%. He's definitely one that we can move on from soon, but not yet, I don't think. Ewan Aiken, 659. A few people asked me about him as well. He's had 2 quieter games in his last 3, which is not that bad, to be honest. So 44 in the 53 minutes. Unfortunately, he had the 36, and he's had the 38. So, you know, the 2 of those games there, he's had less minutes than the 80, which is not ideal. Had the 54 points the game before, up against the Knights. And the next few weeks, he has some interesting ones. Obviously, Cronulla, Penrith, and Tigers before they have their bye. So the biggest thing with him is he's averaging 49.4. And if you get that as a centre, it's a clear keeper. So there's not many guys in the centre position that are averaging that much, right? Even, you know, Manu's had his great score, but he's not averaging 49 in the centres when he actually plays there. So Ewan Aiken, who has the dual position of 659, you're getting him priced at around the 47 mark. He's owned by a big percentage. So if you go away from him and happens to pump out an 80, then, you know, which he has done a couple of times, right? He's got an 80 in round 5. He had the 77 in round 8 as well. So if he gets anywhere near those types of scores, then you're absolutely spewing if you trade him out. And who are you going to trade him out to? I understand there's a few options, but, you know, there's not many people that are priced at that 49. Even in the edge position, there's not many guys that are averaging 50. So for Ewan Aiken to play either edge or centre, be a real versatility for you with Matt Burton, for example. I think he's a hold. I don't understand why people are looking to trade him out. Guys like this are allowed to have lower games, especially in poor teams, right? So they're going to have to improve. Hopefully Stacey Jones helps them out with Brownie gone now, and Aiken can really dominate. But we have someone to really think about now as a potential trade out, and is one that's going to be affected by the return of Josh Curran, and that would be Jazz Tavanga. At 626k, yeah, it did a pretty good, decent job for players that were interested. Obviously getting, you know, big minutes from round 4 in that lock position was really, really helpful for him. A few 50s there, got the 62 of 58 in round 10 and 11, which was nice, and then has gone to prop position and scored very low there. Obviously with Adam Fanua Blake out, but, you know, for him to get those types of minutes, and, you know, the points, the PPM is pretty normal for him, but with Josh Curran coming back, I see his role either staying exactly where it is, or yeah, pretty much staying exactly as it is, and that's not going to be good enough, to be honest. Whether, you know, he plays a little bit through hooker, if he plays a little bit through the middle, through lock, whatever it is, Jazz, I don't think is going to be good enough for your squad. At 626k, he did a nice job there, but the break even's high. It's time to move him on with him not playing 17 and not being a keeper. They're the couple of things you got to think about there. All right, Tommy Gilbert's probably not this week, I'd say, but he'll be next week or the week after. So 583k, the dual position's been nice. They don't play in round 17. He's had, you know, a few good weeks. 2 of the last 3 have been really, really good. A 63 with a try was terrific, and the 50 last week in the 80 minutes. So this week with them potentially not playing a few of their origin stars, I think is the week to hold him one more week. See how he goes. You hope for a 50, and then I think you can move him on over the next couple of weeks, definitely up until round 17. He's not a clear keeper in the mid or the edge. He's done a serviceable job, obviously making guys a bit of cash, but I think over the next few weeks, it's time to move Tommy on. Most likely not this week. You know, you get to make your trades late. Obviously, if everyone's back, you could potentially move him on this week if you wanted to, but I think this is the one to hold him into round 14. move him on in 15, 16, or 17. But that's that video, guys. I hope that helped with your trade outs this week. And you've got the cash cows video to drop down some of these guys too, and then potentially upgrade to some of the guys that we've been speaking about as good options for round 14. Obviously, a lot of the Parramatta guys who aren't going to be playing, are going to be playing in round 17 who aren't playing Origin. Yeah, Reeds, the Dylan Browns, the Mitch Moseses, the Isaiah Papali'is, these types of guys are the real clear ones, and there's a couple others in other teams, but yeah, we'll speak about them in another video. Obviously, get a little bit extra time. This video is going to come out on Wednesday afternoon before Origin, then give you all the guys a few days of learning and also working out what's going to happen with the Origin guys before you make your decisions heading into the Friday night game with the Cowboys and the Dragons, guys. I hope you really enjoyed that so much. Jump in, subscribe to this channel if you are new. I appreciate you being here. Like this video. Thank you all again for being here. We'll catch you in the next video, guys. See you later.